and there it is. He just became the third leading scorer in NBA history.
The beauty about NBA basketball is every time you sit down and watch a game, anything can happen. History is often made in front of our very eyes, and impressive basketball feats and records have transcended time due to their magnitude. But there are some NBA feats that are so big and incredible that nobody will ever get close to matching or exceeding them. Join us now as we take a look at 10 NBA records that will never be broken. Number 10, Andre Drummond, most free throws missed in a single game. There are some really bad free throw shooters in the history of the game, and Andre Drummond has to be near or at the top of that list. Drummond is so bad that he once missed 23 free throws in one game. This record was set on January 20th, 2016 in a game between Drummond's Detroit Pistons and the Houston Rockets. The Rockets were down by 9 points at the halftime mark, and that's when interim head coach JB Bickerstaff decided to insert KJ McDaniels into the second half starting lineup. McDaniels fouled Drummond 5 times in a span of just 9 game seconds, triggering a Pistons bonus on the 5th foul by the 11:51 mark of the third quarter. Up to the 2016 season, the Pistons' big man was a 38% career free throw shooter, so it wasn't too bad of a strategy from the Rockets. It took the Rockets only 3 minutes to tie the score and nearly 4 to take the lead. Houston fouled Drummond 7 more times after the Pistons went into the bonus and did so in a span of just over 2 minutes, in which Drummond went 5 for 16 from the charity stripe. The Rockets' success was short-lived, however, as then Pistons head coach Stan Van Gundy sent Drummond to the bench and Detroit was able to build a new lead. Once they had a comfortable advantage, Drummond eventually returned to the game and finished with 17 points on 13 for 26 from the free throw line and only 2 for 4 from the field. Number 9, Scott Skiles, most assists in a single game. When you think about all-time great playmakers in the history of the league, you think about Magic Johnson, Oscar Robertson, Jason Kidd, or John Stockton. But you sure don't think about Scott Skiles. On the December 30th, 1990 evening, things took a turn for the struggling Orlando Magic. They were facing the Denver Nuggets, and both were at the time the 2 worst teams in the league. The Nuggets had many of their starters injured, so they were even worse than usual that night. Skiles went on to record 30 assists, beating Kevin Porter's record of 29, which he had set in 1978. The 30th assist came at the Magic's very last play with 19.8 seconds remaining and the crowd erupting with a roar of celebration. Orlando won that game 155-116 and actually played above 500 for the rest of the season after an abysmal 6-23 start. It's hard to think anybody will ever beat that record. Number 8, Phoenix Suns and Boston Celtics, most points scored in a regulation game. The Orlando Magic wasn't the only team who took advantage of how bad the 1990 Denver Nuggets were. About 1 month and a half before Skiles dropped 30 assists against Denver, the Phoenix Suns scored a whopping 173 points on the Nuggets, tying the record set in 1959 by the Boston Celtics on the most points scored in an NBA game that didn't go into an overtime. The closest anybody has come to this record in the modern era of basketball were the Houston Rockets and Washington Wizards on October 30th, 2019. The Rockets beat the Wizards 159-158 in a game that featured virtually no defense and an amazing scoring prowess from both teams. But with the way our game is trending, no team will ever score more than 173 in one regulation game again. Number 7, KLAY Thompson, most points in one quarter. In the 2015-16 NBA season, the Golden State Warriors came out of nowhere to win their first NBA championship in 40 years, and that season featured many magical moments. One of them was KLAY Thompson scoring 37 points in the third quarter of their 126-101 blowout of the Sacramento Kings on January 23, 2015. Thompson finished with a career-high 52 points and made all 13 of his third-quarter shots, including another league record 9 three-pointers in one quarter. It was reminiscent of Michael Jordan because it was sort of otherworldly, Warriors head coach Steve Kerr said. Kerr was teammates with Jordan for a couple seasons in Chicago and won 3 straight championships there from 1996 to 1998. However, what Kerr saw Thompson do that night was otherworldly, saying, "As many spectacular things as Michael did, which he did nightly, I never saw him do that." Number 6, BROOK LOPEZ, most threes attempted in a game without a single make. Similar to Andre Drummond's case, this is a record, but not for the good reasons. Few players in NBA history have had the green light from the coaching staff that allows them to take 12 threes in a single game. But can you believe BROOK LOPEZ took 12 threes in one game, despite not making a single one? It all happened when the Bucks were defeated by the lowly Phoenix Suns on November 23, 2018. Had Lopez just made one of his 12 missed threes, Milwaukee would have won the game, as the Bucks lost 114-116. It was an embarrassing showing, as the Bucks had a fully healthy roster and the Suns were just 4-14 at that point of the season. Lopez broke the record previously held by Steph Curry, Trey Burke, and Antoine Walker, who had gone 0 for 11 from deep in one game years prior. Lopez going 0 for 12 was only possible thanks to the three-point revolution in which players and teams are taking more threes than ever before. But even for a solid three-point shooter like Lopez, there has to be a point where you say, "This isn't my day. My shots are just not falling," rather than continuing to brick shots until you literally can't anymore. That's why it's hard to see anybody ever breaking this record. However, with the amount of threes attempted continuing to rise, do you think anybody will ever miss more than 12 threes in one game without a single make? Let us know in the comments down below. Number 5. Wilt Chamberlain, most points in a game. This is one of the most famous records in American sports history, as Wilt Chamberlain scored 100 points one night in 1962, a season in which he set many other records. Chamberlain's Philadelphia Warriors were facing the New York Knicks, but Knicks starting center Phil Jordan was sidelined due to the flu. That left Wilt matched up against backup bigs who were helpless inside the paint against the 7'1" monster. Chamberlain scored 23 points in the first quarter, 18 in the second, 28 in the third, and by the start of the fourth quarter, fans started chanting, "Give it to Wilt! Give it to Wilt!" That's why in the fourth quarter, the Warriors fed Chamberlain on every opportunity. Wilt scored 31 in the fourth quarter, with his last basket coming with 46 seconds left in the game. Fans raced onto the court in celebration, and it was mere seconds later that Wilt's iconic picture holding a piece of paper that read 100 was immortalized. Number 4. John Stockton, most assists of all time. We saw earlier that Scott Skiles has the most assists in one game, but John Stockton thought that setting basketball records was a marathon and not a sprint. Well, maybe Stockton didn't really think that, but he sure proved it. In 1,504 career games throughout 19 seasons, all with the Utah Jazz, Stockton dished a total of 15,806 assists. That's equal to an average of 10.5 per career game, with Stockton averaging as many as 14.5 assists in one season. Out of every NBA record ever set, this is one of the most unlikely to ever be broken. The next closest player to Stockton is Jason Kidd, who retired with a total of 12,091 assists in 19 seasons. The closest active players are Chris Paul and LeBron James with 9.6 and 9.3K assists each. But even assuming both played all 82 games for the next 5 seasons, they'd have to average over 15 assists per game to catch up. If any other player wanted to beat him, they'd have to play 20 seasons and average 9.9 assists for their career. In other words, it's impossible. Number 3. Dirk Nowitzki, most seasons played with one team. We just heard John Stockton spent 19 years all with the same franchise. That's a lot, but the record for most seasons played with one team belongs to Dirk Nowitzki. German Jesus spent 21 years with the Dallas Mavericks organization, winning a league MVP in 2007, delivering the only championship in franchise history in 2011, and cementing himself as the best international NBA player in history and one of the best power forwards ever. Second in the list is the late great Kobe Bryant, who spent 20 years with the Lakers, followed by Tim Duncan and the aforementioned Stockton, who spent 19 years as members of the Spurs and Jazz respectively. Then comes Reggie Miller, who played each of his 18 seasons with the Indiana Pacers. Miller could possibly be joined by Udonis Haslem if he re-signs with the Miami Heat for the 2020-21 season, which would be his 18th in South Beach. Dirk's record of 21 years with the same franchise will probably never be broken because, as we see every year, players are changing teams at a quicker pace than ever before in free agency. Also, due to the increased power and leverage players have today, it's easier for them to force trades to other teams when they're not happy with their current situation. As the older heads would say, there's no more loyalty in the NBA nowadays. Number 2. Wilt Chamberlain, most rebounds in a single game. We saw Wilt's record of 100 points in a single game earlier in the video, and it turns out Chamberlain is also owner of the record for the most rebounds in a single game. In fact, we could make a full list of 10 records owned exclusively by Wilt Chamberlain. 2 seasons before scoring 100 points, Chamberlain set another record that would prove to be unbeatable down the line when he grabbed 55 rebounds in a 1960 game against the Boston Celtics. Wilt's unmatched size and strength gave him an advantage over pretty much every NBA player back then to grab most of the boards. The closest anybody has come to Wilt since the late 80s is Charles Oakley, who had 35 one night in 1988. Dennis Rodman grabbed 34 in 1992, Charles Barkley grabbed 33 in 1996, but all of those are still a far cry from Wilt's 55. No matter how athletic and big NBA players continue to get, nobody will ever grab as many boards as Wilt, who is also far and away the all-time rebounding leader at 23,924 career boards. And number 1, Russell Westbrook, most triple-doubles in a season. Russell Westbrook set the NBA on fire in the 2016-17 season, finishing with 42 triple-doubles that year, the most all-time in a single season, as well as winning the 2017 League MVP award. His 42 triple-doubles broke Oscar Robertson's record of 41 back in 1962. Another triple-double record Westbrook also holds includes a streak of 11 consecutive in 2019. The most consecutive triple-doubles record was previously held by Wilt Chamberlain, who had 9 straight in 1968. While many people have criticized Westbrook for stat padding and chasing his triple-doubles, he's proven to be a very impactful player when his shot selection's on point. Before Westbrook's MVP season, triple-doubles were very rare and impressive stat lines. But when the Brody had triple-doubles in more than half of his games in 2016-2017, they started losing their impression effect. Still, it'll be hard for anybody to ever have more than 42 in a single season. Do you think any of these records will ever be broken? Which other unbeatable NBA records did we miss? Let us know in the comments down below. And as always, don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel.